Hey guys, welcome into another edition of our YouTube video channel for the Guilty as Charged podcast. We've got a fun one for you guys today. Joining us is the director. Many of you know him on Twitter. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. He does some great content out for you guys. Recently, I saw he graded the coordinators for the Chargers, which I thought was a really fun video. How are you doing today, man? And thanks for joining us.
Should I say it? Should I say that? Kia ora, brothers.
There we go.
Good to see
There we go.
everybody. I'm excited to be here. I've seen you guys on Twitter and stuff a lot, and I'm very excited to have like another realm to be talking to Chargers fans. And I think it's awesome being in the same room, even virtually, with other Chargers fans that are excited about stuff that people tell me to go away at the bar when I bring it up. Like, we don't know the Chargers, just take it over there. So good to meet you guys. Excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. We are a small group of fans, but we are super passionate. And I think, like that one poll that said that Chargers fans were number one in social media engagement across all three platforms. It was really fun to see. So,
oh yeah, if I could take the clips from the movie 300 and put everybody in Chargers armor, that's the great analogy of the Chargers fans. We are few, but we are strong.
There we go. We almost got Justin Herbert the Rookie of the Year just based off of social media. So we're almost there. Alex is here as well. Alex, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Getting all these hires done and writing all these articles. So good day.
It is a good day. Ronaldo Hill did not get the memo about Chargers discretion. Kind of dropped the bomb about assistant coaches for the defensive side of the ball, which I thought was kind of hilarious. But we'll see if any of those do come true because, like a Gift Smith was already reported to be taking a job in Detroit, and apparently now he's staying. So we'll have to wait and see how that happens. So let's start with this. I think a lot of people were very vocal about Anthony Lynn potentially being fired and moving on and moving into a new direction. Where did you stand on Anthony Lynn getting fired or staying, or just your thoughts in general about Anthony Lynn?
I think first and foremost, we have to thank Anthony Lynn because he did some great things for us in Los Angeles. And it wasn't an easy job when he took it, right? Like when he took the job to be the Chargers head coach, we weren't like this uprising team like we are now. And I think there was a lot of risk when he decided to come coach. So first and foremost, thank you, Anthony Lynn, for the services that he did with the Chargers for so many years. Secondly, I do think it was a mutual parting that was beneficial for both parties. I just feel like Anthony Lynn didn't fit the Chargers anymore. His old philosophy-minded run the ball pretty heavy. I don't feel like it fit the new era that Justin Herbert brought in. I feel like it fit pretty well with Phillip Rivers. But when you're talking about bringing in a new quarterback that has a different kind of like scheme to build around him, that honestly, I feel like most of the NFL is taking that turn right now with these specific archetypes of quarterback. It was just time for Anthony Lynn to find another place. And obviously with the Detroit Lions, I think he could find some success there. And I think it'll be good for both of us, honestly. So I think it was time. It was time. It had to happen. I'm glad it did. This young-minded guy, Brandon Staley, I think I like the young perspective that he's bringing into Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, I totally thank Anthony Lynn for what he did as well. And like you mentioned, this was a job that not many people wanted to take back in 2017, with Matt Patricia, I guess, was considered, and Terrell Austin maybe at the time, but it wasn't a hot job that people like, Kyle Shanahan and the ilk wanted. So, that's definitely a point you bring up, and I totally agree with that one.
Yeah, you talked about Brandon Staley's youth, and I think, we saw what Joe Lombardi said yesterday and how he views analytics. And, we're really going from one end of the spectrum to another in terms of youth and analytics and things like that. Are you a fan of Brandon Staley's hiring? And what'd you make of the Chargers going with a defensive-minded coach instead of an offensive coach?
I'll say the moment I heard about it, I was pretty shocked. He was on my radar, but I think like most other Chargers fans, we wanted that Brian Daboll because of the potential of the fitting and the pairing between him and Justin Herbert just seemed like a match made in heaven. So at first I was a little reserved. I was like, okay, I did some research, but I got to do a lot of research on Brandon Staley. And he's the kind of guy where like, the more I looked into him, the more I was like, oh God, this was the choice all along. Because we remember the Chargers loved them some Anthony Lynn. They really did. They did not want to separate from him. Maybe that was more of like what we would call coach speak, maybe owner speak. But
Yeah.
I do feel like they liked Anthony Lynn. To move away from him, they wanted to get one of the top prospects, is what they kept saying. And now it comes to find out it was probably Brandon Staley all along. So the more I kept looking into him, the intelligence, the way that you were speaking on the analytic view of football. I mean, to us nerds, that's like music to our ears. Like, yes, please tell me the percentages, tell me the success rates, tell me all these things analytically that the Chargers can do to improve. And to have a head coach that looks at it the same way, that fresh look, and again, just bringing in a new system for Justin Herbert. I honestly, like, do you believe in destiny, Steve? Do you?
I do. Yeah, I do.
It might be destiny. Is
But
where
then
I'm at
again,
right
you know,
now.
I also thought the Buffalo Bills were kind of a team of destiny, so that didn't work out. So you know, kind of a mixed bag for me.
We don't all have the magic 8 ball or whatever that tells us. But I do like this Coach Staley quite a bit. I think it's very exciting. He's gonna do some exciting things for the Chargers.
Yeah, the Buffalo Bills, they didn't pay attention to any of the analytics this weekend, and they wanted to boost the morale before halftime.
Oh man.
So that was their view on it.
Oh man, I cannot believe that. And you know, Aaron Rodgers suffered from some poor analytical decisions as well this weekend. So this is good. This is really fun for us. You know, I've been blessed enough to be able to get some access to Senior Bowl film. I love the draft. The draft is so much fun to cover, and we had a great time doing it last year. So we are going to do a mock draft with the director. It's going to be a fun experience for all three of us, I think. We're going to use the Draft Network's board. I know that, you know, everybody has their own little thing that they like. I generally agree with how the Draft Network's rankings pan out. Plus, if you do like Pro Football Networks, you get like 7 trades before the Chargers pick, and you're just like, what is going on? You do Pro Football Focus, and you get Zach Wilson #1 overall. So, you know, it is what it is. I prefer the Draft Network's board. I think it's going to be a fun experience. And I'm going to share my screen right now so all three of us can see it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk first about who has already been selected.
Perfect.
So first, right now, you see J.C. Horn went at 12. Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida, at 11. He's a guy that a lot of Chargers fans have asked me about. Caleb Farley, the corner from Virginia Tech, at 10. Kwity Paye, the pass rusher to the Broncos, at 9. Penei Sewell at 8 to the Panthers. That is just blasphemous. I will not stand for Penei Sewell slander anymore. I'm sick of it. Patrick Surtain, 7 to the Lions. Jalen Waddle, 6 to the Eagles. Devontae Smith, Justin Fields, Jamar Chase, Zach Wilson, and of course, Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, we live in a world where anything can happen, right? At what point, how far, if Penei Sewell pulls Laramie Tunsil or something tragic, God forbid, how far does he need to fall before the Chargers are like, maybe we think about trading up? You know what I mean? Like at the 8th spot with the Carolina Panthers, I'm at least mulling it over a little bit. You know, get Justin Herbert his BFF. Let's all be happy as Chargers fans, even if it costs us a little capital going into next season.
You want to take that one first, Alex?
I mean, yeah. I mean, if he really does start to slide, then it's certainly a possibility that they could trade up. But I mean, the Draft Network is fun and all, but I don't see him going past 5. Cincinnati definitely needs a pass protector for Burrow. I mean, you know, they don't want him to blow out his knee again. So, you know, they need to go all in on the offensive line. And Devonta Smith at 5. I mean, Jamar Chase makes sense for them, maybe, but I don't really see Devonta Smith make a lot of sense. But yeah, I just can't see Penei Sewell sliding past 5. But you know, it's the draft, and if he does pull Laramie Tunsil, I guess anything is possible.
Yeah, so really that how far he slides, I think, is going to depend on 2 things. First is the Raeshawn Slater hype, because you know the Raeshawn Slater hype, obviously the offensive tackle out of Northwestern. Daniel Jeremiah has him ranked ahead of him. Joel Klatt, like all these draft analysts have him rated ahead of Penei Sewell. I personally cannot agree with that. And then the second thing is where Trey Lance falls, because the Panthers, like, yeah, absolutely. Left tackle, they're very similar to the Chargers. Their left tackle spot has been a massive hole ever since Jordan Gross retired in 2011, I think it was. So I could see them taking Penei Sewell or Raeshawn Slater, but, you know, that really is going to depend on where they stand on Trey Lance and where the Broncos stand on Trey Lance and the 49ers, because I think there are multiple teams that could take Trey Lance, the quarterback out of North Dakota State. So I think, to me, if he falls past 8, then yeah, absolutely. You make a call to the Broncos, make a call to the Cowboys, and try and see if you can trade back. I think 8 is the magic number in terms of when you start calling about Penei Sewell.
I think a point to be made that will probably be brought up a couple of times this episode is something I say in my videos all the time when it comes to mock drafts, is that the computer's kind of a goober. So, I mean, anything could happen. Keep that in mind. The particular players that we're looking at each position, each spot, could definitely be there. But don't get too offended by the computer. It's out here to make you look bad. And this is definitely one of those cases, Penei Sewell at 8 to the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the Draft Network, I love their website generally, but sometimes you'll get a mock draft and it's like, you know, Christian Darrisaw will go number 1 overall or something like that. And you're just like, oh, okay, that makes sense. All right. So
world where maybe like he gets inceptioned, right? The number 1.
Yeah.
Inception is like, oh my God, Christian Darrisaw, we're going to win a Super Bowl with this guy.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I think that definitely, you know, be careful in what you're seeing. You know, I saw someone send me a mock draft today where it was like Creed Humphrey with the Chargers' 2nd, 3rd round pick. And I'm like, I mean, great. Yeah, obviously you do that, but it's not going to happen. So let's talk about this 13th pick. You know, I personally am, you know, offensive line or bust. What are your feelings in general about the Chargers and where they pick at 13?
It really depends. Like, in my perspective, and I know not everybody agrees with, especially with how tragic the Chargers offensive line has been for so many years. You want to look at offensive line, especially if the right talent is there. You know, my philosophy is always best player available, which has worked out for the Chargers in the past quite a bit, in my opinion. I remember screaming at the TV when we took Joey Bosa because I really wanted Jalen Ramsey. Although I will say I was excited about Joey Bosa. It's definitely one of those instances where like I was eating crow pretty hard at the end of the season because, man, Joey Bosa turned into one of my favorite players. Yeah. And so, in my perspective, it's a little bit opinion based on who you think the best talent is at the spot they fall to the Chargers. But I do think where the Chargers are at 13, there's a good case to be made that maybe the best player available is an offensive line. And if that's the case, it's a no-brainer to me. So I'm not seeing the Jalen Waddle on there, Kyle Pitts, you know, any of those players where I'm like thinking about it. With the players that I see on the board right now, I think it's very obvious that offensive line is the move. To me, again, it's both a position of need and best player available. Micah Parsons could be pretty interesting, but I just don't think he fits the Chargers in a particular. I mean, he could fit anywhere. Let's not nitpick too hard. He's definitely one of those kinds of players. But I'm thinking at 13, it's between Raeshawn Slater for me and maybe. Can you scroll down a little bit there? Christian Darrisaw. You really can't go wrong with protecting this new hotness in Los Angeles, this new hotness by the name of Justin Herbert. And to me personally, the way I view the top 3 tackles that are available right now, I think Raeshawn Slater is the one that definitely pokes out to me the most. I think there's a lot of potential with Raeshawn Slater to be a long-term guy with Justin Herbert. So that's going to be the one that I'm eyeing in the first round.
Alex, you just wrote your mock draft or bolt beat. What do you make of Raeshawn Slater?
Yeah, I mean, I think if this is the board, I think Raeshawn Slater is the guy that the Chargers have to take here. Just because, you know, I mean, he can kind of play all 5 line slots and they need all of them. Look, if he's left guard and that's what they want to transition him to in the NFL, then go for it. Or center, fine. Like, they need help everywhere on the offensive line. So to me, it's just not a situation where it's like, well, this guy fits left tackle a little bit better. I can see that, but for me, Raeshawn Slater would be the guy in this specific mock draft. But some of the other guys, I mean, Samuel Cosme from Texas is obviously a possibility. Christian Darrisaw is obviously a guy that Steven and Tyler have talked about a lot that they like. And I would like to mention, if you scroll down there to 17, is Joseph Asai, who's not a guy that a lot of people talk about, but he is a 3-4 outside linebacker, kind of edge from Texas. And I think he might fit Brandon Staley's scheme a lot. JC Horn went off the board at 12, but if he's there, I think he kind of fits what Brandon Staley wants to do on defense as well. So those are the two picks that I could see. If the Chargers don't go offensive line, they might go with those guys. But other than that, I think it's going to be really Raeshawn Slater, Darisaw, or Cosme as of now. And personally, just due to how dynamic he is, I would have to go with Slater.
Yeah, I think that this kind of board playing out for the Chargers would be perfect, because then you get your choice of the next 3 best offensive linemen after Penei Sewell. I think this is really just a great scenario. And I think, we'll go with Slater here. I'm a big Samuel Cosme guy myself, but we'll go with Slater and then see how the rest of the board pans out, because I do think, like Alex mentioned, the versatility of Raeshawn Slater is going to be a huge help for the Chargers up front.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Mm-hmm.
Strolling into your houses and pointing fingers. I'm just kidding. Steven, though, I'm really interested in knowing, because of your mantra there, offensive line or bust. Yeah. I want to know, in the first round, what names have to be there for you to consider not taking an offensive line? Which one of those prospects you're like, oh, man, the potential of this guy with Herbert or this guy on the defense makes me second guess, offensive line in this particular pick.
Yeah, the one name, there's only one, and that's Kyle Pitts for me, because Kyle Pitts, he's listed at tight end, but the things that he can do for your offense, you can split him out wide, put him in the slot, put him at H-back, put him at tight end. He's pretty easily the most versatile tight end prospect we've ever seen. And, there's still this mantra of like, well, tight ends are not worth a first round selection. And it's like, well, Kyle Pitts isn't a tight end. Like, he's listed at tight end, but he's really not. And so that kind of versatility, and you could even bring back Hunter Henry, and you can have both of them. Then you get, Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski type dynamic. And, I think the explosiveness that Kyle Pitts could add to this team, really that's the name for me that would make me consider not going offensive tackle.
I love it.
Maybe let's aim for the other parts of Aaron Hernandez. Let's
obviously.
That,
yeah. Obviously. It's really unfair because there's no other comparison for like what this kind of dynamic would be.
We're backed in the corner here, guys. We're sorry.
Yeah.
Gentle on those Apple reviews, okay?
Yeah.
Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. That's the comp for me. But
I just mean like stylistically, because Goddard and Ertz are both bigger bruising giants.
For me, the guys that would have to fall are maybe some of like the prize wide receivers that I don't think make it out of the top 10. Like, my draft crush is personally like Jamar Chase. If he fell for some reason, I'd have to think about it, but I don't think there's any chance that he falls that far, at least. But Kyle Pitts is definitely. Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say, is like I do think wide receiver for me, it's got to be Jalen Waddle, but I don't think enough Chargers fans talk about Devontae Smith, because Devontae Smith, as good as he is, the frame is what's really worrying a lot of people, right? Mm-hmm. What would your thoughts be if Devontae Smith does fall and he's sitting there with the Chargers at 13 to Alex?
I think the thing is there's more wide receiver depth and guys that you can plug and play next to Keenan Allen and Mike Williams there, where it's like I would rather have Raeshawn Slater than Devontae Smith, although it would be super enticing to grab him and play, have two of these amazing route runners next to each other with him and Keenan Allen. I think that would be awesome, but I just think offensive line has been neglected for so many years in these drafts, and the fact that there are concerns about his frame. I feel like if you really want to go receiver, you can wait till the second or third round. Whereas with offensive line, that gets a little murkier with, who's left on the board, in my opinion.
I like it. I love it. Me personally, it's got to be a Jalen Waddle, but more specifically, I do like Kyle Pitts a lot. I've developed at first when people were pointing him out to me, I hadn't really done my draft homework yet. I was like, tight end, come on, man. Everybody just wake up, right? Yeah. And then I started looking at his tape. I was like, holy cow.
It's insane, man. You're insane.
Talking like the most miserable player to cover on that field, and Kyle Pitts, and you can line him up anywhere, and then you pair him with Justin Herbert. My God. So yeah, that's the guy that I'm really, really like second guessing. If I'm looking at Raeshawn Slater and Kyle Pitts neck and neck, I would probably take Kyle Pitts, but I still think Raeshawn Slater in this particular instance was the move, in my opinion.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's go with Slater, and then we will see where the draft falls after that. There we go. So Cosme goes 14. Rashad Bateman, 15, the wide receiver from Minnesota. Alex's guy, Joseph Osai. Micah Parsons, the Notre Dame linebacker. There's Trey Lance at 19. Kadarius Toney at 21. Greg Rousseau. Najee Harris. There's Darisaw to the Steelers. Asante Samuel, Christian Barmore, Elijah Vera Tucker. Back-to-back linebackers, Jalen Mayfield, Buffalo Bills. Wyatt Davis to the Chiefs. Alex Leatherwood, Jaguars. Tevin Jenkins, Oklahoma State. There's Mac Jones, the Alabama quarterback. Liam Eichenberg to the Cowboys. And then Trey Smith. Love Trey Smith. Would have loved
Just
that
missed
pick.
him.
Yeah. So just real quick, I want to pause right here and talk about like this to me is why you take an offensive lineman in the first round, because you have Eichenberg is gone, Jalen Mayfield, Tevin Jenkins, Alex Leatherwood, Elijah Vera Tucker, Christian Darisaw. All these guys went right after the Chargers. And so this is really the danger of the Chargers and potentially taking, a wide receiver if one is available, is that now all the top tier offensive tackles appear to be off the board. So, right off of the bat, Landon Dickerson is a name that I think a lot of Chargers fans seem to like. He would be great at center or guard. I think he can play either one. Davion Nixon at Iowa. I think he could be a 3-4 defensive end. It kind of gave me some Corey Liuget vibes. I think that would be an interesting pick. Jason Oweh from Penn State, an edge rusher. A couple of receivers. Levi Onwuzurike from Washington, another defensive tackle. Jay Tufele, I think would be really good in terms of a Linval Joseph replacement at nose tackle. Some more receivers, more defensive tackles. Carlos Basham, Boogie Basham, my guy. I would love that pick here. What are you guys' thoughts right now?
So first off, I'd like to ask, broken record syndrome, I'm sorry, but the Chargers last season did something, and I was live with everybody at the chat, was going wild. They did something that they don't normally do, which was trading back into the first round. Now, in the case of scenarios, let's say the Chargers miraculously pick up a Kyle Pitts with the number 13 spot. I think the Chargers have a little bit more draft capital to play with when it comes to trading up this season.
Right.
What are your guys at the tail end of the first round you'd be willing to throw down some draft capital to trade up for? Let's say even if we do take offensive line. Heavy questions for you guys. Sorry.
Yeah. I think if you're trading back into the first round, it would probably be like that 25 to 30 range, and then you'd be looking at, in this mock draft, Elijah Vera Tucker, and then Wyatt Davis went off right after. Leatherwood and Eichenberg, maybe if they make it there, but it looks like they were off by this point. I think they would trade back in potentially over here. If they trade up, they may not go for an offensive lineman. If they do go with Kyle Pitts, then they would probably trade up and go O-line. But it would be interesting to see if they do go offensive line in the first round and then trade back in, what they would do, because they could take, any number of players in there. But it certainly starts to get a little bit dicey at offensive line once if you really start to wait till the second round, for sure.
Yeah, I think in general, if you're trying to trade up with someone, I think the Saints, who are in cap hell, definitely would be a target of mine. Same with the Packers, who could use some extra picks. In this case, I would be really interested in Tevin Jenkins, the tackle from Oklahoma State, maybe. Wyatt Davis, everybody who follows me knows I love Wyatt Davis. But yeah, so I think right here the Chargers would be in a good spot because, they have Landon Dickerson, Creed Humphrey, Deontay Brown, Josh Myers, Aaron Banks, Ben Cleveland, I think are all guys that could be, day one starters on the interior offensive line. And then really the other thing that I think is going to be interesting in terms of the draft is, do the Chargers go after Leonard Floyd in free agency and kind of plug a need at the 3-4 outside linebacker spot? Or do they wait to the draft? Because right now you have Hamilcar Rashed who could do that, play outside linebacker. Jason Owe, who he's not super productive, but lots of tools there. Peyton Turner is down in Mobile right now, kind of turning some heads. Quincy Roche, the edge rusher from Miami, again down in Mobile, turning some heads. So to me, I think whether or not this team targets Leonard Floyd is really going to influence the draft. So what kind of direction do you guys want to go here?
Yeah, I think we enter into the second level of inception when we're like, do they have Leonard Floyd?
Yeah.
Like Trent Williams, like how could everything pan out? I totally get that too. Cause yeah, that would definitely influence on maybe getting like an Owe or something with this pick.
Who are the other guys? Can you scroll down, Steven? Who are the other guys here?
Just in general, do you want me to click on a specific spot?
No, yeah, no, it was just Plymouth was St. Brown. Okay. All right.
I know it's interesting. When I go offensive line in the first pick or the first round, I tend to try and lean towards some guys I like on defense in the second round, just by habit. Especially now that we've got Brandon Staley out there. I'm sure he's got his eyes on some guys that can help fit the scheme of his defense that he wants to introduce out there. But oftentimes, if I'm going in an offensive line in the first round, the names I see in the second round back to offensive line are what catch my eye again. And this is one of those years where I think like Chargers fans, are you really going to be that upset if we go back-to-back offensive linemen in the draft to protect Justin Herbert? That's what I'm saying too. I think there's a lot of like, casual fans that are like, oh man, I really like this kid, out of the Big ETN. I really want to grab him. He'd be really awesome for the Chargers, which he would be. But in grand perspective, Justin Herbert with protection, you start thinking about, you forget about ETN. You start talking about Austin Eckler seeing more, gaps to run behind. You start talking about those deep routes becoming, being able to develop a little bit longer. You start talking about Justin Herbert having time to read the field. That elevates every player on this offense to me. And in a time that's, in my opinion, kind of sensitive with the time that you have Justin Herbert under that rookie contract, to make things happen within that realm, to have money to spend in free agency, I think it all does circle back to Justin Herbert for me, even in the second round, the names I'm seeing here. And I'll tell you guys the name that's standing out to me right now is Landon Dickerson. Yeah. What is the Chargers' plan at center going into next season? With the departure likely of Mike Pouncey, Feeney in that role is okay. Quessenberry last year was all right, but do I want all right anymore, with Justin Herbert? I don't know. I think I'm getting a little picky, I'm becoming the Karen of the Chargers, and I want to talk to your manager about a good offensive line prospect before, I go any further with this purchase. So I think Landon Dickerson to me is the one that definitely sticks out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing with Dickerson, because I'm a big Creed Humphrey guy as well, but I feel like Creed is exclusively a center, whereas Landon Dickerson has played center and guard, so there's a little more versatility there. I think Dickerson would be the move. I think another idea that's interesting here, because you have Slater, who we took earlier, then could you get a Dylan Radune's offensive tackle or James Hudson from Cincinnati? I think if I were choosing right here, since Raeshawn Slater, I view him as a guard, I would then take an offensive tackle right here, and it would probably be James Hudson from Cincinnati. So, Alex, what do you make of this decision right here?
I think I lean towards Landon Dickerson a little bit for the interior offensive line. I also think edge is kind of a need. I actually did a mock draft where I talked about, I did Slater in the first round, and then I did Jason Owe in the second round. He's a really good edge with some great physical tools. Steven mentioned Basham is interesting, just, his intensity off of the edge there, like pairing that with Joey Bosa would be awesome. But I think, in a Justin Herbert draft where we went Slater in the first round, I kind of think Dickerson is best player available here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I floated the tackle idea out there because I think Landon Dickerson is.
Bring it up.
I mean, I do think that Landon Dickerson is clearly the best player available here. It's really, for him, it's just going to come down to what his medicals, because I think he's torn both his ACLs, and like he's got some injury history, which I know some Chargers fans will be like, well, why would they draft another player? It's like, well, at pick 45, you throw a dart at somebody that was clearly one of the best players in college football last year, and just kind of hope that it pans out. So,
yeah. And to answer my own question, as far as trading up back into the first round, I would definitely consider for Vera Tucker in that instance. You imagine Slater and Vera Tucker
some
in the
versatility,
first round
man.
to the Chargers. I'd be
Chef's kiss is exactly right on that one. So we'll take Dickerson, and then we'll head to the third round. So there's Trayvon Moehrig, Pat
Uncharted
Freiermuth.
waters.
Yeah. There's the run on defensive players. Why is this being? There we go. Kyle Trask to the Colts. That's an interesting one that the Chargers fans should probably pay attention to. The Colts, definitely getting after a quarterback spot this year with Phil Rivers retiring.
So the Browns took Basham. So that imagine Basham and Myles Garrett off the edge. That's a nice duo.
That would be nice. There's Creed Humphrey all in the third round. Interesting. Very interesting there. See if my guy goes. Okay, so if right now I think this is another good spot. Tommy Tremble would be super interesting as a blocking tight end with some versatility as a pass catcher. But to me, right away, Hamilcar Rashed out of Oregon State, the edge rusher, 3-4 outside linebacker type of player, is somebody that I would have my eye on right here.
I'd like to hear Alex's top couple guys here too. Not that director didn't do all his homework in the third round yet, but there's a couple of guys that do poke out to me. But I like the Hamilcar as well.
Hamza Nasruddin is my guy.
Number 82. You love Hamza, man.
I love Hamza Nasruddin, just all he can do at safety. I mean, he's kind of like what if Derwin James wasn't quite as good, which I really like a lot.
Yeah.
Just putting it on this kind of defense. He's a Swiss Army knife of sorts. But I don't know. I like Quincy Roche is an interesting guy here. I think that
is it Roche or Roche?
I thought it was
no
Roche.
Idea. Quincy Roche.
Either way.
Comments will let us know. Aggressive.
There we go.
They'll let us know. I think Roche is very interesting here just because he does play in that kind of Miami 3-4 linebacker, which could be a great fit with what Staley likes to do a lot in general. So I think out of these guys, Roche might be my favorite.
Shelvin stood out to me in one of my mock drafts too. That guy is just a monster.
Oh, dude.
He is huge.
There you go. There he is. Yeah, I think he opted out this season, right?
I think so.
Yeah, he did.
So
362. Oh,
yeah. He is the defensive equivalent of Deontay Brown, man. He's just a massive human being. Like it's insane, but he's quick too. I wouldn't hate that pick too, because I from what I've seen from Brandon Staley's defense, he really likes to have defensive tackles that really just clog holes. He's not really looking for guys who will make plays as much as he is someone that's just gonna, anchor down and make sure that nobody pushes him off the ball, which I think obviously is someone who's 360 pounds should be able to do that.
Yeah, I would say so. And I do think that when you're talking about the Chargers' defensive woes these last few years, I think, run defense has definitely stood out to me a little bit, looking pretty woeful versus, most teams, especially in 2019. But there is a lot of picks here that do stand out to me as far as when I'm getting into the third round, I'm really thinking like, okay, Brandon Staley's a defensive guy. He's really he's proven to me that he's committed to building around Justin Herbert in the first couple of picks with those offensive linemen. I wouldn't be upset if he selfishly went after someone for his defense in the third. It's just who at this point, I think edge, especially if you're talking scheme fit edge, again, not going to the inception of did we pick up a free agent outside linebacker or whatever. Could you pull up the information on Hamilcar Rashed Jr. for me, just so I can see just a little bit of what he has? Maybe you can explain him in further detail to me.
Yeah, so he plays outside linebacker for Oregon State. He does a little bit of, he drops back in coverage every once in a while. Looks like Draft Network doesn't have a ton of information up on him, but he's very toolsy, and he wins with speed. He wins with power. I want to say he had like 20 tackles for loss for Oregon State in 2019. 2020 wasn't too hot, but I think they only played like 3 games this year because of COVID. So he's gaining a lot of buzz right now for his tools. 6'3", 250. He's got perfect size for outside linebackers. It's just, he's more of a project, whereas Quincy Roche, he's someone who has produced at a very high level, maybe doesn't have as much physical upside as Hamilcar Rashed Jr., but I think, to me, I think stylistically probably Roche would fit better in terms of immediate impact, but the upside for
that's
Rashed
what I'm looking for. Immediate impact in Brandon Staley's new defense. I want somebody that can come in and help, because we're talking about a fairly difficult transition. It's not the easiest thing in the world if you really want to switch to a 3-4. If Quincy Roche is going to be one of those guys that smooths that transition over, I'm all about that. And Quincy Roche would be the pick for me. Elijah Molden, too, is somebody that I had my eye on. There's definitely other names in here. The Chargers have so many different holes, so many different problems on the defensive side of the ball that could be addressed right now. But when you're talking changing that formation, I think Roche is probably the move, at least for me right now.
Yeah, I think this does come down to Hamilcar versus Roche a little bit. And I think just immediate impact, how he fits in the defense. I think Roche is the better fit here.
Yeah, I agree.
I like it. I love it.
He's doing some great things down in Mobile right now through 2 days. Made Alex Leatherwood look really silly a couple of times. So I would be thrilled with this pick as well. And
he's one I've looked into, and I definitely would be excited about somebody that can come in and help smooth that over. So I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, and I think you're onto something here where the Chargers take 2 offensive linemen back to back, and then they have 2 third-round picks, so they could realistically spend the 3rd round on trying to get up, fix the defense a little bit, which I think.
What does Doc Holliday say? I forgot you were there. I thought we had wrapped things up.
Yeah,
I like it.
All right, so let's see who went a little bit now to pick number 97. So fitting, would be so fitting for them to pick an edge rusher at pick number 97, but oh well. So Kenneth Gainwell, the running back out of Memphis, Hunter Long, the tight end, Boston College. There's Rashed to the Bills at 93. Mukawamu, I know he's pretty popular on Twitter. I'm not a fan, but that's just me. There's Alex's guy, Hamza. Cox, Aaron Banks. Love Aaron Banks. If there is a Notre Dame player that the Chargers target, I want it to be Aaron Banks, going on the record now. But we'll see what Tom Telesco pulls out of his hat there. Sage Surratt, Elijah Moore, some good receivers. There's Tommy Tremble, the blocking tight end from Notre Dame. Elijah Molden, who you mentioned. So to me, I think right now you're either going receiver or a corner. I do think the Chargers need another playmaker. This is the earliest I would take that playmaker. Like I said, unless Kyle Pitts is on the board at 13. So to me, I would go with a receiver or a cornerback. What do you guys think?
I'd like to see receivers as far as if it would be reaching for my guy. I like Seth Williams, Amari Rogers, pretty good. But you guys know, if you've watched my videos, I'm a huge fan of Anthony Schwartz. The pairing with Justin Herbert, I mean, he's likely going to be the fastest wide receiver in the draft. I mean, just because you're fast doesn't mean you're going to be successful in the NFL. Grant you, he could turn into, a John Ross, who again I think would fit very well in our system. Just saying. But Anthony Schwartz, again, a lot of Chargers fans, when I bring this guy up, they're like, "Oh, we got Guyton, we've got Tyron Johnson. Like, why would we want Schwartz?" Well, it's because Schwartz is likely going to be the fastest guy in this draft. I think he's going to run circles around Guyton and Johnson. If we're talking quite honestly, like he's very, very fast, and the ability to stretch the field with a guy like Schwartz wouldn't be as valuable on other teams that aren't named the Chargers because they don't have Justin Herbert. The ability to stretch a field with Anthony Schwartz with Justin Herbert means, okay, you got touchdown potential deep with Anthony Schwartz, and you've got the potential to open up to stretch the field and open up the bottom a little bit for guys like Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, even Austin Eckler. So this has kind of been my man crush at the late 3rd round pick, maybe even early 4th. I mean, I think at this point you're probably reaching a little bit with the 2nd, 3rd round pick, but I just think as far as like fit for me, if we're talking about building around Justin Herbert, any speedy wide receiver in the late 3rd or early 4th picks would be exceptional to me.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Schwartz is kind of my crush as well. I mean, he is, I mean, he's really fast. If he, just gets a little bit better at intermediate routes, like this is a guy who could be the Chargers version of Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Like that's just how insanely talented he is. So if I was taking a receiver here, it would probably have to be Anthony Schwartz. I mean, there's some other guys there as well.
Seth Williams looks pretty nice too.
Yeah. There's also, at corner, I think they could go like Harry Vincent here if they wanted, who's interesting in the slot. But I think they kind of have addressed the defense here a little bit with edge. They've gone with 2 offensive linemen. I think this is probably the spot where you go with that skill position player. And for me, that's probably Anthony Schwartz, but I could definitely see why people would think that's a bit of a overdraft as well.
It probably is a bit of a reach, but
yeah,
how many times have we seen the fastest wide receiver, run the 40 at the combine, get reached for? You know what I mean? And this is an instance where I'm like, is it a reach though? Is it? If you've got Justin Herbert, like what's the real ranking if you've got a strong arm quarterback throwing him the ball? Guilty as charged podcast listeners, listen to me. I know some of you are probably like, director, what are you thinking? We could be taking a cornerback here. There's other probably better wide receivers here. Well, this is my mock draft today, and I've got a huge man crush on Anthony Schwartz, and I just think he's a perfect fit here. But again, there's so many things you could do here. Go back to defense, go back to cornerback. Do we need cornerback though? Because I mean, are we going to go get a Raeshawn Lattimore? I'm not going to open that can of worms with you guys, but I do feel like a lot's going to change depending on the free agency, depending on trades and all that offseason stuff. But to me, as far as the directors, co-host coming in here and making fun, whatever mock draft, the pick for me would be Anthony Schwartz.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's who I would take here as well. I would maybe consider an Ambry Thomas or a Keith Taylor Jr. cornerbacks. Like the director said, are they cutting Chris Harris? Are they cutting Casey Hayward? Or are they making something else happen? So that kind of depends. But I think for me,
to very briefly just, run over the Chargers cornerback situation. I do think, like I mentioned in a tweet a couple of days ago, that cornerback could definitely be that position that shocks everybody in the offseason because of how much Brandon Staley relied on Jalen Ramsey in his scheme on defense. By taking away that top receiver, he allowed himself to play his safeties close to the line of scrimmage to help against the run. And everything panned out great with that leaning on Jalen Ramsey. So that's why in one of my videos, I went over the possibility of getting Marshawn Lattimore. Again, the Saints cap hell, they need maybe more draft capital. Maybe they're a little vulnerable over there, right? Like they're sitting in a corner sucking their thumbs, and the Chargers come over like, yo, we can help with the cap situation. We can help with the draft capital situation. And honestly, a guy like Marshawn Lattimore, you bring him into the Brandon Staley system, we may see very similar results to what we saw with the Rams in 2020. So my point is, don't be surprised if the Chargers' big offseason move this year is cornerback, both in signing a huge name and maybe letting go of a guy like Casey Hayward or Chris Harris Jr.
Yeah, I definitely think that's a possibility that the Chargers should explore. I would love the Chargers to get my guy Marcus Williams out of Utah. Played some great free safety ball there in New Orleans as well, but probably wishful thinking there. So Anthony Schwartz, I don't know what the combine thing is all up in the air. So this is gonna be really interesting to watch. But I would imagine Anthony Schwartz probably runs like a 4.3. Like his 40 time is gonna be insane. And watching him and Jalen Waddle run at the combine would be must see TV. All right, so just going over.
I was gonna say every receiver is gonna run a 4.2 at their pro day. So
yeah,
the way they're doing it this year.
Oh man, the pro day measurements are gonna be crazy. So for those who are listening to this instead of watching it, we have taken Raeshawn Slater at 13 overall, Landon Dickerson at 45 overall, Quincy Roche or Roche, depending on who you're asking, at 77 overall, and Anthony Schwartz at 97 overall. So please let us know what you think of our selections in the comments. Director, any other thoughts about this mock draft that you want to share here?
Honestly, if I walked away, in April, whatever, it would be in May, right? Early May when the draft is over. And I saw this particular roster in the first 4 picks, I would be very, very happy. I'd be very, very excited. The offensive line, again, it feels more like a love letter to the fans. Like we're sorry. Okay. We know we dropped the ball with this offensive line for all of these years. Here's us making up for it. We're going to get you Raeshawn Slater. We're going to get you Landon Dickerson. And then we're going to add some more pieces like Anthony Schwartz for Justin Herbert. And then defense, just so you guys know, we're making some transitions. We're making some moves here. Maybe we brought in, Leonard Floyd. Maybe we made some other offseason acquisitions, but Quincy Roche is going to come in here, help us move to that 3-4 scheme, really bring the most out of Joey Bosa. I would be very ecstatic if it panned out this way. And if you guys are upset about it, come to my channel and leave comments. These guys had no control. This is me today.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I assume most of our listeners listen to you as well, but let everyone know where they can find your channel and your social media.
Oh yeah. I mean, Google, this brand new invention. If you go to search Director Chargers on maybe Google or YouTube, you'll be able to find me there. Social media, I'm the Kiwi Filmmaker. For those of you at home watching, we got the appropriate garb today just to kind of, visually guide you guys to that conclusion of the Twitter handle, Kiwi Filmmaker. Go. And it's a lot of fun, man. I've been very blessed to have such a fun platform to really reach out to so many Chargers fans, put them all under kind of that same roof. And virtually, I feel like a lot of Chargers fans I've met on this platform have been like the one Chargers fan in their hometown somewhere in the middle of like the Midwest or whatever. Yeah. And to have a place where because I was kind of in the same situation, to have a place where you can finally start talking about these things you're so passionate about has been a huge blessing. So yeah, come find us, come join the fam. The whanau is what we call in Maori, the Bolt whanau, and have some fun and get excited about the draft coming up, off-season stuff, free agency. I could talk you guys' ear off for another 4 episodes about free agency and stuff too, but it'll be a good time, guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing more of your content as well. All right, guys, that'll do it for our special edition of our YouTube channel right here, and we look forward to speaking with you next time. Thanks, guys.
Could I ask you guys one thing? Just close the show. I want to hear you guys say "Stay frosty," just for my own ego. Close it. Stay frosty.
Stay frosty. All right.
Stay frosty.
Stay frosty.
Bye, guys.